everyone. So the first step to teaching your horse to go round or to accept the bit is just about simply teaching your horse to give to pressure. If you think about it at a very basic level, if you take pressure on the bit, you want your horse to give to that pressure. And sometimes in dressage we lose sight of that and we get stuck in the details of like the horse has to be going forward and round and supple and all of this stuff, when just at a very basic level, if you pull, your horse has to give. So the way that I'm going to start introducing that, like if I have a young horse or a green horse, a horse that doesn't understand about the bit or connection or contact or going around, what I start with is just one rein and teaching the horse to bend to the side. So you could even do this in the cross ties or in the stall. What you're going to do is that you want to first get your body behind your horse's shoulder. So this is going to help so that if your horse tries to back up, that you're in a position where you can send your horse forward. Then what you're going to do is you're going to get a hold of just your inside rein. So I'm going to get a hold of just my left rein. I'm going to hold the rein as if I was riding. So I have the rein coming out between my pinky finger and my ring finger. I make a little tent with my thumb so that I'm able to use my wrist and ring fingers. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide down the rein and I'm just going to take like as soft as contact as possible. And you can see he's kind of looking off. So I'm going to take a little light contact and then I'm just going to move the bit a little bit in his mouth. And you see I'm kind of vibrating the bit, vibrating the bit, vibrating the bit. He's not listening, so I'm doing a little more. There he gave. So you saw him give and tip his ear towards me and I released. So vibrate, vibrate, vibrate. Come on, buddy. He's just looking there. He gave. Good boy. So you're just very at a basic level teaching your horse, when I pull on the left rein, you tip your head to the left. Boy. I'm trying to be as subtle and as soft as possible. Good boy. Good boy. And then, so that's like the first step. The next thing is that I'm going to start asking him to take his head around even more than that. So a lot of you guys might be saying, well, my horse is really stiff in their neck. But I guarantee you, if they have a fly on their side, they're going to reach around and be able to get that fly. So what I want to do now is I want to start, once I've gotten that general idea of like, okay, if I pull on the left rein, he's got to follow a little there. He's got to follow that. Then what I'm going to do is I want him to basically bend his head all the way around to his elbow. So I'm going to start taking this incrementally where I ask for a little more bend, release. Ask for a little more bend, release. Ask for, there, he gave all the way around. And then once he's here, what I do is I put my hand on the front of the saddle and grab onto the saddle and just wait for him to put slack in the rein. So you might move around, your horse might try to back up. I'm just waiting here until he puts complete slack in the rein and I'm no longer pulling on him. So you see he's kind of chewing on the bit. He's still a little bit pulling on me. I'm just waiting until he gives completely to that rein, which he hasn't yet. I might have to vibrate the bit there. He gave completely, and then I release and let his head go back to straight. So let me show you that again. You're going to want to repeat this several times on both sides. So again, I get my positioning where I'm behind him. I don't want to let him look off. It's never a good idea if your horse is looking away from you. Your horse should always be focused on you anytime you're doing groundwork with him. Now I'm going to slide down the rein and I'm going to think about increments. So bend, release, bend, release, bend. He's not giving, release, bend. And then here, I'm going to put my left hand, I'm holding the front of the saddle and the rein, and I'm just going to wait for him to release there. I want him to wait there for a moment and then give the rein back to him. And it's important you see how he kind of slowly takes his head back. You don't want them to rip their head away from you. So once you've done that on the left side, then we're going to go to the right side, and same thing. So I'm going to get standing here behind his shoulder. Now I don't like how he's just kind of staring off into the distance. There's a horse over there that he's distracted by. So I'm a little bit going to vibrate the bit and say, hey, look here, good boy. And you see how clear that is, that when he looks away, I put a little pressure, 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 and then release. So again, I get myself behind the saddle. I have a hold of my rein. I'm putting a little pressure and saying, hey buddy, pay attention to me, good boy. He's very distracted, and so whenever your horse gets distracted, there you go. No. And then release. Good boy. And I'd like that when I release, I'd like him to stay a little softer. Like, I don't really like how when I release, he kind of just goes off to staring in the distance. I'd like him to put his head a little lower and keep that inside ear a little more towards me, that he doesn't get so distracted. Good boy. So again, I'm going to slide down, take a little pressure, take a little release, take a little release. And you see how as we're doing this, he's getting quicker and quicker to respond. Good boy. So then once I've done the right side, I'm going to go back to the left side again. Again, I always check my positioning, get myself behind the saddle, and then start with a little bend, bend. He's a little there, release. So pressure, release, pressure, release. Good boy. Release completely. Good boy. Start over again. This guy is a little bit distracted. I'd like him to stay with a softer expression and not get so much staring off into the distance. Boy. And part of, why we want our horses on the bit is because it helps them to stay focused and paying attention to us instead of paying attention to everything going on around them. So this is an exercise that you're going to be practicing pretty much every day until it's really natural, until you just feel like you can go to one side and your horse bends. If your horse starts walking around and you don't want them to, you're just going to fix your hand on the top of the saddle and just wait for your horse to stand still. You could also put your horse up against the wall or do this in the cross ties or in the stall.